This is Jim Fram with Community Growth Strategies. We're working on an action plan for economic development for Elkins, Arkansas. We're delighted to be working with the Community and Economic Development Division at University of Central Arkansas and working this plan through the community. Hopefully we will have a document that we'll be able to go to the community, to the leadership, so that they can begin to do some things that position Elkins for economic growth. I want to talk just a little bit about economy. Economic development's a team sport. And one of the things that has really helped us in putting this action plan together has been cooperation from Mayor Troy Reed and the leadership in the community. We've interviewed a good number of people. We had a couple of focus groups. We had a public forum with more than 30 interested citizens and community leaders in attendance. And all of this information went together with our research to put together what we believe is an action plan that will, again, position Elkins for economic growth. I want to talk just a little bit about demographics that will be found in the report. Elkins enjoys tremendous population growth, just like most of Northwest Arkansas. Your median age is much younger than the national average. That's good news. Median household income is nearly at the national average, which is very unusual for Arkansas and other southern and some Midwestern states. However, per capita income is very low. Households with public assistance are very low, and that's another very good demographic. Overall, demographic reports showed little or no surprises. Economically, Elkins is performing very well. As part of this process, we went through a public forum where we did a SWOT analysis, and I just wanted to touch on a few things that came up in that SWOT analysis. One of the things that they felt like was a need was a little better, a little more modern infrastructure throughout the community. One of the things that they felt like was very, very important was river access. We're going to talk a little bit later about the river, but the river is an amenity for Elkins that we think will really help position the community for growth. While Elkins has a robust retail selection for a community of its size, there is a need for maybe a little more selection. Right now, a lot of folks are having to drive other places to purchase certain retail items, even though there's grocery and service industry in Elkins that's very good for a community its size. A couple of the things that they felt like were real strengths and ought to be positioned as opportunities in the community are the library and the school system. Several people at the public meeting and several people in interviews mentioned that their primary reason for living in Elkins was the great school system. So we're going to talk a little bit about action steps, and we have those divided into three primary sections. One is business attraction, one is business retention and expansion, and another one is entrepreneurship. And those are kind of the three stools of the three-legged stool of economic development, if you will. And the first one we're going to talk about a little bit is some recommendations for business attraction. And goal number one, pursue the attraction of new businesses to Elkins and the adjacent area. We're recommending that the Elkins City Council appoint a small economic development commission, 3 to 5 members, that will be responsible for pursuing and implementing some of the recommendations in this report. We're going to suggest that this group be made up of a couple city council members and maybe 3 representatives at large from across the community. The next recommendation that we have under this goal is to form a small task force to explore funding for economic development, either a 16th, an 1/8, or a 1/4 cent sales tax dedicated to economic development. And the funds could be designated for marketing, purchasing land, acquisition of buildings, and for partnering with other regional organizations. Another recommendation is to create a target business list based on the community's attributes and focus marketing efforts on those businesses. Find businesses that fit in the community. Become active with the Fayetteville Chamber in regional efforts. Fayetteville Chamber does a lot of regional things in that part of Northwest Arkansas, in that part of Washington County. Consider programs that they offer and how you can join or replicate those programs to the benefit of Elkins. Number two, recruit new retail businesses to Elkins and the adjacent area. Create a fact sheet. Most retail businesses know what demographic situations make them successful and not successful. And if you have the population, the household income, the traffic counts, and other demographic information already for them, that speeds up the process of recruiting them. We're asking the new EDC to take on that responsibility. Run online surveys or local residents to find out what retail business targets you need in the community. Find out what they're driving to other communities to buy. Find out the type of retail that they prefer. And we're asking both the City of Elkins and the EDC to be responsible for that. We're also asking the Elkins City Council to modify permitting ordinances for new housing developments on main thoroughfares so that they reserve the frontage of those for possible retail and service businesses. Goal number three, develop a business industrial park. Basically, this is product. You're not going to be able to attract a big technology company or manufacturing company if you don't have a place to put that. And this is a long-term goal, but we're requesting or suggesting that you identify tracts of property that could be acquired or could be optioned and be developed as a business park. We're asking the EDC to take on this task. Goal number four, create an extensive marketing plan that supports and achieves the action of this economic development strategy. One of the things that we're requesting and one of the things that we kind of found missing is we're recommending that the City Council invest in attractive, readable wayfinding signage to help people find City Hall, to find the trails, to find schools, to find the parks, to find all the destinations within the community. The artwork that's used in some of the major cities in Northwest Arkansas is very attractive, and possibly you could borrow, if you will, the artwork from those and make that a very attractive wayfinding effort within the community. We're recommending that the Elkins Community Network get involved in creating social media strategy that encompasses all of the economic development partners that we talk about in this plan. Benchmark other successful programs in surrounding communities. Look at Pea Ridge, look at Farmington, look at Springdale, look at Rogers, look at Bentonville, look at Fayetteville. Look at some of the things that they're doing to be successful in economic development that you could bring back and size right for Elkins and make success in Elkins. We're asking the Elkins Community Network to lead this effort. The last recommendation under goal number four, we're recommending that all of the partners and all of the team get involved in putting this together. And that is to link the city, the school, other websites in the city and portray a common message. Develop a common look, a common logo, so that when people go to websites that they look at everything in Elkins are being from the same community. You would be surprised how many times a site location consultant will go into a community or do research on a community and look at the school system website and the city website and the Chamber of Commerce website, and they're different colors and different logos, and they're not coordinated and don't look like they're from the same community at all. The skipping right now to the next primary stool, leg of the stool of economic development is, in my opinion, probably the most important work we do, and that's business retention and expansion. You have companies there in Elkins that employ people that live in Elkins, but you also have a lot of people that commute to other communities to work. We're recommending that you design, create, and implement a robust, we call a BR&E program that provides assistance and support to existing businesses in the region. We're asking the EDC to be the owner of this effort. Engage with the Fayetteville Chamber Economic Development Team and find out who the primary employers are in the area. Those companies a lot of times can tell you what zip codes most of their employees are coming from and obviously those are the employees that are employers that you want to help and provide assistance for. Produce a simple survey that requests company information from on-site visits with plant managers, owners, and CEOs of these companies. The next leg on the economic development stool is very easy, and it's a very compelling one. You have some examples right there in Northwest Arkansas of entrepreneurship that's really gone wild and made a name for itself all over the country. And that's a guy named Sam Walton that started a little retail business several years ago, and look what it has turned into, and look what it's done to your part of the state. We're suggesting that you create a community where the atmosphere and the personality is that anybody who has an idea to create a business is welcome, nurtured, and supported. One of our suggestions is to ask the Elkins Community Network to host a monthly coffee break, morning event where people that are interested in starting a business or have an idea can come in and talk to each other and get ideas on how to pursue that idea and turning that into a new business. Invite economic development people from the Fayetteville Chamber to attend and present some of their ideas. Invite the local Small Business Development Council network to come in and talk to those. Another one we're asking the EDC to do is to host a pitch contest. We think that you can sometimes you can hear an idea, see an idea, and that will encourage somebody to go ahead and start that business. And if there's a prize for somebody presenting that idea, a lot of times that's the thing that will kickstart that business into doing something. In the document that we put together that details this plan, there's a little testimonial in there from a lady who came to a pitch contest and had an idea for a long time and got started with it and worked it through and actually turned it into a business. Next thing we're going to talk about are things that are very difficult to do. They're difficult, they're expensive, they're time consuming, but these are called game changers. And game changers are things that can really change the entire structure of your community. And I'm going to take these kind of one at a time. We talked to several people who were doing the interviews about the Elkins Community Network, and it's really done great work. It's very well organized. It has no paid staff, but it's run by volunteers. We're recommending that you give support to the Elkins Community Network, that you look at the IRS status that it has, you look at its mission. We think that the Elkins Community Network someday could maybe morph into a chamber of commerce that would really support the businesses that are in the community and recruit new businesses to come into the community. Again, they're doing good work. They have a good volunteer base, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, this is an organization that we think could morph into and become that business support organization. Trails and bike lanes. You don't have to look far around Northwest Arkansas to see what has happened with the bicycle industry, with trails. It's become a very popular thing with that age group that you want to move into your community. And we're suggesting that you take a look at implementing a bikes and trails system. See if there's a possible way to link your city parks and access to the river with hiking trails and with bike lanes. When you approve a new street to go into a new housing development, make sure there's a bike lane at least on one side, because that is becoming one of the more popular means of exercise in the country right now. And it shows that your community is modern and keeping up with the other communities and taking advantage of that. One of the most attractive things that I saw in Elkins, and one of the things that I think is really going to pull a lot of people in, excuse me, is the White River. If you do research in tourism attraction, water, whether it's ocean or a creek or a river, is one of the largest attractors of people, of tourists, where people want to live. We think you could be taking a lot more advantage of the White River. We think you ought to look at programs of expanding access to the White River. Work with all the agencies that would be involved, whether it's Arkansas Game and Fish, whether it's Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism, whether it's a Corps of Engineers. There are several entities that have regulatory control over the water, over the river itself, and over the banks of the river, and start letting your elected officials know that you want to increase access to the White River, not just for the people that live in Elkins, but for tourists and for other people that might come to the community. It is a tremendous asset to your community, and it's not really being used right now to its fullest extent. The last thing that I'm going to talk about in this is communications. And I'm going to talk about one of your neighbors. If you go to the City of Pea Ridge website, you can subscribe to Mayor Nathan C's Friday afternoon newsletter that he sends out. When I was doing some work up there with Tabitha and Shelby, I subscribe to that and I get it every Friday. It's an electronic newsletter that you have to subscribe to. It kind of tells what's going on in the community. One of the things that we heard in interviews and one of the things that we heard at the public forum was that sometimes people didn't know what was going on, didn't know what was happening with the city. This is a great vehicle. Everybody today has a computer, a cell phone of some form, and this is a great communications tool, whether you send it out once a month like they do in Pea Ridge, or whether you start out maybe or every week like Pea Ridge, or whether you started out maybe just doing it once a month, and folks with the city can contribute to it, other citizens can contribute to it. But it's a great way to get the word out about what's happening in the city. If there's a new street going in, if there's new housing development being proposed, if the school system is doing something, all of that can be put in this communications piece, and we think that's very important. This is the slide that you've been looking for. It's the last one that we have, and I've affectionately entitled it, "Let's Get to Work." I've spent the last several years doing strategic plans for communities your size. And some of those communities take that plan and they divide it up among the constituents, the people that are going to benefit from that plan, and they start implementing the things that we're recommending in there, and the community grows and the community attracts business and the community moves forward. Some of the communities take the plan and they set it on the shelf and it gathers dust. Guess which one works? I guess my parting words was, let's get to work. Let's take this action plan for economic development. Let's take it apart page by page. Let's look at who we recommended to have ownership on each one of the elements of this plan, and let's start putting this thing together. It's very realistic that most of the recommendations in this plan could be implemented within the next 2.5 to 3 years. Thank you very much for your attention. You have a beautiful community. I have really enjoyed working with you and look forward to continuing my communications with Mayor Reed and the other officials to help make sure that this plan gets implemented going forward. Thank you.